Hi folks, and welcome back to the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print. And today we get to talk about another novel. This is a novel that begins a trilogy that I love, love, love so much. And it's by one of my favorite Star Wars authors, and that's Kevin J. Anderson. This came out on February 1st of 1994, and it is the first of the Jedi Academy trilogy, simply known as Jedi Search. And this is one, like I said, I am super excited to talk about. For several reasons. I have my first memory with this book was in middle school. I had already read the Young Jedi Knight series, so seeing this and realizing that this was going to be the start of Luke's New Jedi Order. This is the official start of Luke's New Order. And I was super excited about that, and it introduces some major things here, and I just love the storytelling. So let's just dive into this book. I love this book so much. Okay, so like I said, first novel of the Jedi Academy trilogy. It's also the first novel that is set post the Thrawn trilogy. Like I said, this is the beginning of Luke's Jedi Order. Luke's Order has always been my favorite order. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because I'm a huge Luke Skywalker fan, but I love how Luke structured it. I liked what he did that the old order didn't. So Luke's Order all the way. We'll talk about that some other time, but yeah, Luke's Order, that's the best one. For me at least. So in this book, Han and Chewie are imprisoned on Kessel by Morith Dode, who has a grudge against them. And here they meet young Kip Durin, who will become a very mainstay character in the later Star Wars and will be a huge part and a huge contributor to Luke's Order. And spoilers. And so they, as they escape, they find a Death Star prototype, and they also find the deadly Sun Crusher super weapon. So also in this book, the Senate gives, or the New Republic Senate gives Luke governmental permission to basically not only start a new Jedi Order, but also to go out and use New Republic resources to help find Force-sensitive people to start a new Jedi Order. And so in this book, he'll find Gantoris and he'll find Stream. Those are some of the new class. Ultimately, Luke's first class will include people such as like Kyle Katarn, Corran Horn, Brackus, and a whole bunch of different people. So Luke and Lando will end up teaming up during the whole Jedi search, hence the title, and will find and rescue Han, Chewie, and Kip, and Kip will then showcase his Force powers. So that's kind of the whole story there, and then Kip Durin is also part of that first class. So Leia's story in this is that she is trying to balance her governmental duties and being a parent. Jason and Jaina have been off with her friend and frequent collaborator Winter, kind of off being hidden because the first couple of years, that is when they're most susceptible to the dark side. And so Luke has deemed that, hey, they're not as likely to turn now as they were, between the ages of 0 and 2. So they're 2 years old at this point. So now young Anakin Solo is still in hiding with Winter, but Jason and Jaina are back. So now suddenly it's, I'm seeing my kids more frequently and I'm trying to balance everything with it. So it's kind of that whole thing there. And so ultimately at the end of the story, I don't want to give away too much, but because there's a lot of things here. And at the end of the story, Leia and Mon Mothma say, hey Luke, we've selected an area, tell us what you think. We've selected Yavin 4, the old rebel base in Yavin 4 that we saw in the end of A New Hope, as the location of the Jedi Academy. And so Luke is like, yes, that's great. So that is what begins Luke's Jedi Praxium or Jedi Academy, the first location of the Order before ultimately the move to Coruscant and then the move to Ossus and, all those whole things that'll happen later. So this book is also unique because it brings in Dark Empire into canon. We kind of talked about this, or into C-canon status. We kind of talked about this in our Dark Empire review. As we know, Timothy Zahn famously or infamously did not want to write the Thrawn trilogy after Dark Empire because he didn't want to, adhere to any comic books, and he thought that comic books at the time, I don't really know so much now, but definitely at the time he thought that comic books were below him, that he was better than that. and he didn't want to adhere to funny books. And so, people would ask, like Dark Horse, like, are you guys in the same league as the novels? And Dark Horse would be like, I don't know, we want to be, but we don't know. And then Kevin J. Anderson was like, heck yeah. So in like the first couple of pages, he pretty much recaps the Dark Empire incident, which places this after Dark Empire, pardon me, and brings Dark Empire into the C canon status, and brings Dark Horse into saying, yeah, like their stuff matters just as much as the Bantam stuff matters. And then ultimately the Delray stuff will matter. So that is also unique here, I think, that, it just mentions it. But that's enough to say, yeah, this stuff, means the comic books are legit. And as a kid, I didn't start reading Star Wars comics like truly outside of the Marvel stuff, that I grew up with from my dad. But it was around middle school when I first read this in 6th grade. That was when, yeah, okay, now the comics, Dark Empire is mentioned. I remember reading that at the library. So they mentioned it here. Okay, let's go and started reading the Republic stuff. Started reading a whole bunch of stuff other than just what was the original Marvel. So thank you, Jedi Search. But the question that we ask, is this book essential? Absolutely it is. It is the start of an amazing trilogy by Kevin J. Anderson, in my opinion. It's also the beginning of Luke's new Jedi Order, and you are introduced to several main people. Oh, I even forgot to mention Natasha Dawa. Dawa is another great Star Wars villain in here, and this is the first time chronologically that you're going to be introduced to her. So it brings in a lot of great stuff, and obviously if you're going to read the rest of the trilogy, obviously you have to start here, but even in the greater expanded universe, this is definitely essential, and things in this trilogy will be mentioned in later expanded universe material. So absolutely, Jedi Search, hands down, an essential read in your reading, in your expanded universe reading. So folks, that is all the time I have for today, and I will see you next time with another episode of the Star Wars Library.